All right. Hey, Becky, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for
Good.
having me.
Good. Well, hey, I know you've got a really busy schedule going right now. You're working a lot of hectic, long hours. So I just want to say thanks so much for joining me and sitting down and having a chat with me.
Well, thank you.
So a little background. You're a former Redbird golfer. You played from 98 to '02. And I see you have a couple degrees from Illinois State, a Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry and a Bachelor of Science in Medical Laboratory Science. And
Yes.
then you also have your MBA in healthcare administration. So you were busy in the classroom for a few years.
Yeah, I carried a couple credit hours.
And now you're originally from Bloomington, correct?
Yep, I grew up with normal community,
Okay.
uh, stayed as a townie.
Excellent, excellent. And now living in Indianapolis and working as the chemistry manager and chemistry practice team leader at Mid America Clinical Laboratories.
Correct.
Okay, excellent. Now, how long have you been with the company?
I've been coming up on 6 years now. So I've been in my current role for the last five.
Okay, excellent. Can you tell me a little bit about your role as chemistry manager?
Yeah, so basically starting with the company, we're the largest clinical laboratory system in the state of Indiana. We service 23 hospitals, and we have laboratories in those hospitals, and they focus on the stat tests, the urgent needs for surgery, ICU, and ER. All of the routine tests and some of the more specialty tests, those all come to our regional facility, which is where I'm located here in Indianapolis.
Okay.
We are a high volume reference lab that not only service those hospitals, but a lot of other outpatient, clinics, doctors' offices, and we're the reference lab for some other hospitals in the area. So we get a lot of that testing in here. I manage a good team of about 20 people, and we test, you know, 12 to 20 million different samples a year. So it's high paced. You always have to be thinking detail oriented. In addition to that, you know, with being the subject matter expert in chemistry for the system, I lead our best practice team to make sure that we're always on top of where we need to be, not only testing, but technology, and anything else that we can do to help facilitate more information to our clinicians so that they can take better care of our patients.
Excellent.
So we're like the unknown profession. So this is Lab Week. So happy Lab Week to everybody out there. I've heard medical laboratory technologists and the sciences in the lab more now than I ever have before. So it's bittersweet that this is how we're getting that recognition, but it is a very important field. And I was lucky enough that Illinois State has a really good program and was able to get into that program, which got me here. So hopefully we can, keep some people coming in through the program and maybe get some, future lab techs coming through. So it'll be, it's kind of nice for that.
Yeah. So, what has the last month or so been like for you?
Well, when it first started, it was kind of, things are getting a little slower. Maybe we can get some of those projects taken care of
Mhm.
that we've always wanted to get some extra cleaning and organization and that kind of thing. But then it started ramping up to, a lot of things shutting down. And when half of your business is based on all of those doctor's appointments and elective surgeries and that kind of thing, it kind of really hit hard. So we had to make some hard decisions. We had to do some rolling furloughs. We had to, see where we could reassign people to keep them busy and keep them working. But overall, it only lasted a couple weeks, and then as new testing needs and things came about, then it started ramping back up. How can we facilitate this? How can we bring those services to the state of Indiana and to those people that we serve? And we were just able to go live with a new test this past week, which will hopefully help in garnering some more information and understanding about this virus and how it impacts us.
Yeah. What have been some of the biggest changes you've seen at your workplace?
Well, a volume is a big thing. So usually there's no downtime here. We're go, go, go 24 hours. And it's not been like that. We've had to cut back to 2 shifts, run minimally on the weekends, which is a different change of pace. Life is a little bit different. What used to be done during first shift is now totally different.
Yeah.
And laboratorians don't typically like major changes, so we've had to make some pivots, and sometimes it's day by day changes, just to our normal workflow and how we operate. So it's been a big adjustment period, and you don't get long to get used to it before we have to change it again.
Yeah. Yeah. With all the changes and with some people facing all the long hours and everything, sometimes some negativity can creep in and things like that. But how has the morale been at your workplace?
I'm lucky. Even when we had to make those hard decisions and tell people we're going to have to start cutting your hours back, reassigning them. Luckily, we do have those hospital labs that did have the need for people there. I was able to reassign a bunch of my people because the reality of having to tell somebody that they're going to have to go home and file for unemployment and cares benefits, because we just don't have work for them. That was really hard. Even telling people that we're going to have to cut you down to like part-time, it was a tough decision to grapple with. Luckily, everybody understood the gravity of the situation and the importance of what we were needing to do. And then the fact that we, as a company, we're still back, supporting them. They weren't getting terminated. We're still picking up their benefits, so they didn't have to worry about that for their families. We were helping them navigate the unemployment system to make sure that they still had, money in there to take care of their families. And they knew it was going to be temporary. So, what I felt was going to be very hard conversations to begin with, which were still some, because you still have the angst and the uncertainty of what's, going on. They took it pretty well. And they still are taking it pretty well. It's still unusual. There's still a lot of anxiety, still uncertainties of when we're going to get back to our new normal. But overall, if I have to change the schedule for tomorrow, and on a whim's notice, they're all in. So it's been great to have a good team to do that. And we've had the leadership from the top to also, just reinforce that, this is what is, it's just temporary, and that we're here for them if they need anything.
Yeah, yeah. So would you say that's one of the most challenging things you've had to do during this time, is just reach out to your employees and do the hour cuts and things like that? Or has there been any other challenging things you've experienced?
Somewhat, that's probably just on a managerial level. That's the first time I've had to, unfortunately let people go. But when you really care about people and you're not doing it because, of any fault of their own, those are really hard conversations to have. But, just the changing landscape of, okay, we think we can scale back how much we do every day, try to minimize expenses, but then find out that, what looks good on paper doesn't really work in reality. And then, okay, how can we balance, not spending too much or having too much wasted, reagents or anything like that, or adding too much hours onto the payroll, but still making sure that people aren't being overwhelmed and we're able to put out a quality product. So it's been fine tuning that balance. And like I said, sometimes that's been a day-to-day change, and just making sure that, the communication is there, the leadership is there, and that everybody knows what they need to do when they need to do it.
Mm-hmm. In times when we're kind of getting on social media, or we turn on the news and we're hearing, a lot of scary news at this point, and, it can instill fear in people. I always try to encourage my team to, anytime there's a negative situation or something, adversity arises, can we find something positive out of it? And are you seeing anything positive that maybe this could lead into the future?
Well, I know just around our group, we've had a lot of people reach out about, making masks, and donating those, not only within our company, but throughout the hospital systems that we work with. There's been some other just different things that we've done with, again, even when I had to tell people I'm going to have to cut your hours, I've had people say, you know what, I'm okay, give my hours to somebody else who needs it more. So even in those little types of situations, we've seen that. And the community has been really good, just helping out with each other. They're doing drive-by parades by the hospitals to say thank you.
Mm.
Um, and we've just heard a lot of more gratitude than usual, and you see that just in everyday life. People are adhering mostly to the guidelines, and trying to social distance and respect the brevity of the situation. And so those little things have made a big impact. um, the one thing with scientists is usually what's perceived by everybody is a scary situation we can also see as an exciting situation. And so we're able to kind of look at data and in the epidemiology and research that, and kind of what can we learn from this. And so we're working with state and local officials to help them facilitate gathering that data, facilitate testing for them, so that we can really get a better understanding of what this disease is doing, what the virus is doing, how it's going to act, and how we can move forward. And so every time we can get a little bit more information, that's a positive for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, do you have any recommendations for what people can be doing during this time to help medical professionals?
So, I mean, I think anytime, we're ingrained as a society to always, thank our military people when we see them, and thank them for their service. And at this time, I think the same type of gratitude. Anytime you see anybody who's on the front line, or a first responder, or a grocery worker, those people who are out there to make sure that our lives can still go on as well as we can. Just that simple thank you goes a long way. There's a lot of different, the masks, the food drives, donate blood if you can, any of those things that you might see around your local communities. But heed the precautions, do the social distancing, wear a mask if you can, limit the number of trips. And even as we start trying to open this up, adhering to those guidelines is going to be very important, because we don't want this to keep going, and we don't want everything that we've kept fighting for to go for naught.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Becky, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your helpful insight. And I just want to say, on behalf of your Redbird golf family, we truly appreciate all the hard work you're putting in during these uncertain times.
Well, thank you for having me, and go birds.